What's up, Mech fans, and welcome back to the channel. So today we are doing another tier list, and we're going to be taking a look at Gundam Requiem for Vengeance, ranking every single mobile suit that appears in the series from worst to best. But before we dive into it, make sure to head on down to the comment section below. Let me know your favourite mobile suits that appear in Requiem for Vengeance out of the ones that we are about to talk about. And while you're there, please do leave a like on this video and subscribe if you're a fan of Mecha anime content and want to see plenty more videos like this in the future. You guys know the drill by now. We've got the usual tiers of S, A, B, C, and D. We've got a total of 12 mobile suits here. Some of them are more of like mobile weapons, mobile vehicles, but I'm just kind of counting them all as one thing because it's way easier to do it that way. Kicking things off though, we do have the Assault Gun Tank, one of the Federation's mobile weapons, I'd call this more. Now, for me personally, I'm actually going to put this one in D at the bottom. It's fine, but it's also just kind of a tank that has arms to it, so it's really not that exciting. And the gun tank has never been my personal favorite mobile suit. Like, out of the three original ones of the Gundam, the gun cannon, and the gun tank is probably my least favorite. But at least with that one, there's a little bit more creativity in terms of color scheme. It's kind of got its own little head to it. This one is more of just a tank that sits kind of higher up and has arms to it, and because it's more of this realistic setting that Requiem for Vengeance opts for, it is not all that visually appealing either. Next up, we've got Chubb's Zaku 2 F-Type. I think that's what they're called. Out of all of the Red Wolves Zaku's, this is probably my favorite aside from obviously Solari's. But this one to me has the most personality to it, I guess, where you got, the red like spiky shoulder, you've got kind of the red stripe going over the head, which I think is a really neat addition. Most of these kind of Zaku's, they're very much like basic Zaku's, but they got a little bit of customization, and this one's probably my favorite of the bunch. Now, I think the Zaku's look pretty solid, I've got to be honest, in Requiem for Vengeance, so I'm going to sit it in C tier, because it's not amazing, but it's probably going to be like at the top of C tier. Next up though, we've got the GM, which of course, a classic mobile suit, like the original grunt suit, and the way they translated this into Requiem for Vengeance is fantastic. The first time we saw this, I think everyone was pretty confident in saying that this actually looks good, because there've been a lot of controversy around how the Gundam looked, how the Zaku's looked. This is like the only one where when it first appeared, everyone pretty much said, that looks great. That is a great looking like translation of a design. Seeing it in action as well, fully agree. This is absolutely fantastic. It's not quite S tier, but it is sitting right at the top of A, and it's probably going to stay there. It was a really great translation of something that has never really been like in like a super realistic kind of Gundam feeling before, so there was definitely some design choices to be made, but I think they absolutely nailed this one. Moving on to one that again is going to be very, very high up on this list, and that is the gouf custom. I am a huge fan of the gouf design in general, the original, the custom, any other variants of it that exist out there. I've always been more of a gouf person than a Zaku person because they just look way cooler. I feel like this was like an easy one to translate because it originates from the 8th MS team anyway. The closest thing that Requiem for Vengeance is in regards to other Gundam series is probably the 8th MS team, at least in terms of like tone and vibe, and also setting and all that kind of stuff. We even get an 8th MS team character that appears in Requiem for Vengeance. It ultimately had a very easy job of translating it over to Requiem for Vengeance, but they still nailed it 100%. This thing translates so well into this more live action realistic setting, and as the gouf custom is already a phenomenal mobile suit, I don't want to say it necessarily looks better in this format, but it still looks just as good. So this is actually going to be our S tier one. No complaints. Like this translated so well. The head doesn't look too small. It just all around works and is just like a perfect translation. But at the end of the day, it also had the easy job of translating it into this setting because it already kind of comes from something similar. Next up, we've got the most controversial one, but I would still argue is one of the best mobile suits in the series, that is the Gundam EX. A lot of people tended to turn around on it when they saw it like in action in the series, and I think it works very well in the context of like the movement and just seeing it more in motion rather than a static 2D image. I've always been Team EX. I've always thought this design was great. Now, in terms of the head design, I think there could have been some alterations just to make it look a little bit better. But other than that, I think this is a fantastic design, and it is very comfortably an A tier one. You know what? I'm actually going to put it above the GM purely for more originality, and I guess because it's like more prominent in the series. I think that the EX is fantastic. A lot of people seem to hate it. I don't get it. I personally think it's a great suit, and the way that it's portrayed in the series, the way that it's utilized, the way that it shows up and just kind of wreaks havoc. Awesome, awesome stuff. Moving on to some more Zaku's, we've got Kale's Zaku 2 F-Type. This one, again, It's not the most interesting, but at the same time, it's cool because he's got a sniper and he's like that kind of sniper type. Very much reminds me of Crosshair from Star Wars The Bad Batch. From the look of him, from the vibe of him, from kind of how he interacts with everyone, feels very much like that character, and I'm sure there was some inspiration there. But yeah, I think his Zaku looks fine. There's a little bit of customization, but really not much. So I'm going to put this one again in C tier, but it's going to go behind Chubb's because I think Chubb's Zaku just looks better. Another one, we've got LeSean's Zaku 2 F-Type. This is going in C tier, but it's going at the bottom. I think this is the least like interesting looking, but he is also kind of like more of the newbie within the group, so it makes sense that his isn't quite as customized. Like, there is a reason from a character and team dynamic perspective, but in terms of looking at it visually, it's not the most exciting one. Next up, though, we do have another LeSean Zaku. We've got his unidentified type, which he has later in the series. And personally, I like the unidentified types more than the F types, just because there's a little bit more like personality and creativity put into it, because they are more so cobbled together. And I think this one looks awesome. I love the shield and the way that it's got like the treads, but they're not, they're not like in like a pattern as such. There's like three that kind of go like diagonally. There's one that kind of goes up, one that kind of goes across. So I just think the way that it's put together is really cool, and I think it looks better to me because there's just more on it that makes it more interesting from a visual perspective. So for this one, I'm going to sit it pretty comfortably into the B tier. Next up, we've got Solari's Zaku 2 F-Type. This is like the most interesting of the Red Wolves ones because it stands out the most. Red color scheme, the typical kind of red comet look, but also you've got like the two antennae, which kind of symbolize that she's the commander of the Red Wolves. So I think there's just really cool design choices in here. It is at the end of the day just a red Zaku with, you know, a little bit of kind of realism added to it and maybe a little bit of customization here and there, but it's also not the most exciting one ever. So again, this one is going to go in B, but it's going to sit at the bottom. And then we've got another Solari Zaku. We've got her unidentified type, which to me is probably the best looking Zaku in the series, also the most prominent probably in the series as well. So, yeah, much like I said with LeSean's unidentified type, this one just has more like creativity and visual flair to it. The fact that it's all cobbled together, I like the kind of visor, like shield protector thing that it's got. It's like kind of like gated in a way across the visor. I just love like all of the little aspects to it, the way that they've kind of made it so it can defend against beam sabers and beam weapons. I just thought it was really cool the way that all that came about in the series, and I think it paid off from a visual perspective because again, it just looks more interesting. Is it the most like clean looking visual mobile suit and eye candy, if you will? Absolutely not. But that is the point. It's supposed to look like it's more cobbled together, but I think it really, really works. So this one, again, I'm going to put in B tier, sitting right at the top. Moving on to our last two Zakus though. First up we have the Zaku 1. The Zaku 1 as a mobile suit, it looks fine, but the Zaku 2 is just like the better version and it just looks better. So for me, I don't want to put this one in D because it's not quite a D tier suit. It still looks alright, but I think I am going to sit it in C, unfortunately, at the bottom. Still, I think the Zaku 1 looks fine, but the fact that it's not really customized at all, just from a visual perspective, it looks very, very bland. Because it's supposed to look more realistic, the colours are more, you know, washed out. It just looks like a grey-green colour, and it's not really nice to look at. And finally we have the Zaku tank. Now I actually really like this one, mainly because it feels like the closest in terms of proportions to its anime counterpart. Now if you look at the Zakus, like the complaint with them is that the head's too small, the body's too big as compared to the anime version. But I think when you look at the Zaku tank, they almost got it right where the head feels way more in proportion with the body when you compare it to the anime counterpart. So for that, I got to respect it, and I think it really came out well within the series. So I think I'm going to put it at the top of C because I think I just like it a little bit better than, or a little bit more, should I say, than some of the standard Zaku designs. And I think it all comes down to proportions. I don't hate the Zaku designs in this show by any means, but I do think that there could have been some changes to proportions just to make it look a little bit closer to its anime counterpart. And that's where I think the Zaku tank actually got it right. There we have it, that is my tier list ranking every single mobile suit that appears in Gundam Requiem for Vengeance. I'll throw it up on screen for you guys now so you can see it in all its glory. Of course, in S tier right at the top we've got the Gouf Custom, A tier we've got the Gundam EX and the GM, B tier we've got some unidentified type Zakus and also Solari Zaku, and then also in C tier we do have the Zaku tank, we've got some of the other Red Wolf Zakus, the Zaku 1, and then in last place in D tier we have the Assault Gun Tank. Before I get out of here though, please do leave a like on this video and subscribe if you're a fan of mecha anime content and want to see plenty more videos like this in the future. Also, head on down to the comment section below, like I did say earlier, let me know your favourite mobile suits that appear in Requiem for Vengeance, or if you want to rank all 12 of these that I've just talked about, then feel free to do so, but if you just want to let me know your favourites and your least favourites, that's also fine as well. Stay tuned because I've got a few more Requiem for Vengeance videos planned. We've got a character tier list on the way, a ranking of the episodes, and also if you're a fan of more boots on the ground Gundam, the 8th MS team has actually hit YouTube on the Gundam info channel, so I will be watching that soon, bringing you guys a review for it, and maybe some other videos. Thank you once again for tuning into Mecha Chat today, and I'll see you guys next time.